So, and that kind of hysteria is not good for the economy. Okay, that kind of like I need to buy, like that kind of lack of supply, frankly, is what drives prices up in this case. That is absolutely accurate. It's not good. Well, according to NPR, 2023 was the world's. It was the worst year to buy a house since the 1990s. But there's hope for 2024. Clearly, the optimistic article. The article goes on to cite something that you probably already heard about: the lock-in effect.
Yep. It's something that I wanted to put in the show.
Well, it's because you structured it this way.
Right. We put this in. We've mentioned this many, many times on the show before. The lock-in effect is where homeowners are reluctant to sell their property due to various reasons. One of those reasons is mortgage rates. So we know that 90% of people with mortgages right now have a rate of 6% or less, right?
Yep.
So if you can't find something, if rates don't go down far enough, because you got to remember, sellers ultimately become buyers. So if they're going to sell their home, they're going to need to buy something. And why would they go into something with a higher interest rate and ultimately pay more and also not get a house the same size or comparable to the one you just sold?
So a couple scenarios where that does happen. Number one, 40% of the homes in this country are owned in cash. That is still a very compelling number as far as I'm concerned.
Sorry.
And as you should be, sir. As you should be. You're coughing during... We got to figure out what's making you cough in here.
It's something in the studio, man.
Okay, no, that's not true. Chris?
Uh-oh.
He was coughing the whole ride here, too.
Was I?
Oh,
Yeah, you were.
Now it's a subcon. You told me last week when we
I
recorded.
didn't notice. Did I really?
Yeah.
So then last week when you said you didn't cough the whole day until you got in the studio, that was also wrong then too.
No, last week it's different. He was not coughing. This time he was coughing the whole ride.
Have you considered, and I'm sorry, Jeff, 75%, just keep in mind. Have you considered that maybe you're just recovering from a respiratory, because RSV was going around for a while. Maybe it was like a
Possibly
respiratory viral thing.
I got an ace up my sleeve that I've had that I can share now too. So Haroon wants to throw me under the bus. Did he tell you that baby Mayam had a fever before coming here?
Tonight?
Tonight.
The whole house is sick.
You took your daughter to Chuck E. Cheese today.
Yeah.
With a fever? Now he's here with
It
us.
wasn't Miami, it was Zoro.
Why? Why do you hate me?
Why do
You know I had a shit day, bro. Like, why?
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. This is
I
too
kept
good
my
to pass.
distance.
This is too good to pass up.
Did you at least coat his ass in some like Clorox
man.
or something?
I sat in the car and he told me to. I'm like, oh, hell no. You're going to go down with me. Bro, we're down to once a week. What are we going to do? Cancel?
Bro, if I get fucking sick this week, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to record a solo podcast by myself. Okay.
No, don't do that.
Oh, you
Hey,
don't want me to do that.
hey,
Trust me, thickness.
Some of the listeners might want that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You had to find a way to weave it in somehow, didn't you? Yeah. All right. So the lock-in effect, if we could focus for a minute. Oh, God damn it. I already feel sick, Haroon. There are people in the real estate space who believe that you're going to see downward pressure on rates as the Fed cuts the Fed funds rate. I do not believe that's going to be the case, but I've seen a number of predictions as of late which show a 5-handle possible on mortgage rates, the 30-year mortgage rates by the end of 2024. If that were to occur, that is one thing that could break the lock-in effect. It's so close to where the average is, because most people are below 6%, that may have a significant movement to break that. I don't personally see that happening, but that is a possibility. Home builders are also part of this equation. They've had a hard time predicting values of what they are building because there's economic uncertainty, baby.
Right. There's a lot of fluctuations going on, right, in the economy with what's going on with GDP. You got clear what's going to happen with unemployment rates, and the impact to the real estate market is uncertain how this impacts everybody.
So I would say that's where we got a weird paradigm here. Every time you talk about a recessionary economy, what happens over and over and over and over again is somebody inevitably will say, dude, the housing market's super strong, man. Unemployment's low. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second, bro. First of all, not all recessions are housing recessions. As a matter of fact, most recessions are not housing recessions.
Right.
So just because the last one and the second largest one that we actually lived through aside from 2020, let's ignore that one because it's a bullshit recession.
Right.
In 2008, the Great Recession had a huge impact on houses and the mortgage industry and lending does not mean that will lead the way in this instance. So stop citing that as the backbone of your conversation.
And I don't think that'll happen this time again or any time again in the near future because credit quality has gotten a lot better since then. Borrowers are getting vetted out much better, right, with the Dodd-Frank Act and having to show their ability to repay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the quality of the credit is much better. Another reason why I don't see 2024 being a better year is that consumer confidence is still unwavering, right? Like they don't really know where it's going to go. If you feel like we're at the top of the market, then you're not going to go in and start buying, right? So because you would think that if you did buy, you'd become underwater real quick.
So let me give some perspective here. Number one, when the home builders are more worried about the economy and uncertain about the future than the consumers are.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing. That's not normal. Generally speaking, the home builder's like, it's fucking amazing. Buy. We're going to build. And they're like, oh shit, people aren't buying anymore.
Right.
For them to be on the front lines of this going like, wait a minute. This stuff all looks weird. We should see how this plays out a little bit. And for the consumers to go, buy, and flood open houses where they are, that's weird. And that's kind of something you're seeing now more than ever. The Dow close up again, second day in a row, record number close. And you're seeing the stock market peak, and everyone's like, oh my God, we're back, baby, back. And I literally turned around when the market closed today at 1 o'clock, looked out the window and thought to myself, wow, I have to pee. And that's when you walked in. And then I thought, this is very, very wrong. And people don't realize, and a lot of people don't realize, look at recessionary economies going back. I want to say the 1970s. Market rallies preceding recessionary economies are very, very common. I thought we'd already gotten to the part where we'd seen the maximum rally, and now we're seeing this because 2024 started off really bad in the markets.
Right.
It was a pretty bad series of events, almost eviscerating some of the values that you got from the first year. One of the worst starts to a year in, I think, decades. That being said, now you're seeing the Dow close the historic highs. There's lots of optimism in the market, and I don't get it, especially with global events happening like you quoted here in the notes. The Ukraine-Russian war. You've got Israel-Palestine. You got Iran and the Houthis now, which nobody's ever said this. That's a terrible terrorist name.
We don't know what it means still, right?
Houthis for life.
Yeah, can't support that.
Houthis it sounds like an STD.
I'm not going to support that.
You get the Houthis?
No, I'm not down with the Houthis.
I know who does have the Houthis.
Yeah. Ready or not?
Haroon, how long you had the foot Houthis?
Fuck you.
I'm just saying, it's a terrible name.
But to Chris's point, all the home builders saw back during the pandemic with these geopolitical events that could go on, or a pandemic, right? That could really impact their supply chain, right? So it disrupts that. Next thing you know, prices of these things go up, harder for them to price out the home that they're building.
It's wild to me to think that people argue. God, somebody made a really messed up comment on social media the other day. They said something to the effect of, when I was a kid, I had to save and I had to work hard, and it was a total boomer comment, right? And I'm sitting here going like, okay, wait a minute. When you were a kid, okay, going, fuck it, in the 1970s, let's just say there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say home values were about kind of like 3x, like the average wage,
yes,
number, somewhere in there.
Yeah, maybe even 2.
Yeah, and then now we're talking like closer to 12?
No, 6.
No, I think it's closer to 12. It's 6?
I think it's 6.
Whatever. It's significantly larger. Oh, the Haroon's pulling up some data. Despite this, the average home price in the 1970 era was only $23,000. However, by the end of the decade, home prices had risen to an average of $62,000.
So we both could be right.
Is that less than the salary you pay for George the butler?
He's so stupid. Why? George?
George.
Of all the names.
I feel like you would be a George guy.
Jeffrey. I'm a Jeffrey guy.
Don't Fresh Prince me, bro.
Come on, bro.
Come on, man. So we've now read the optimistic article.
That is the optimistic article. There was something in the article that I thought was interesting that I hadn't really thought of before. Is that they did cite also zoning issues and how strict cities are with zoning issues.
Yeah.
So remember, with certain zoning issues or certain zones, right, the city requires you to build a home to a certain density level.
certain regions have maximum density requirements. Like if you go to Irvine, for example, Irvine is a high density area. They've gone from what was then like largely single family residence detached to mostly attached single family residences because they got increased zoning in their city.
But you also can't build a home like significantly smaller than the rest of the homes. And for it to be somewhat affordable for borrowers out there, maybe that's what home builders need to do, right? But unfortunately, they can't because of zoning laws.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think people don't understand about the whole, like, oh, you know, the office space market we can rezone and blah, blah. Dude, there's a lot of political red tape. And let's be honest, when have the politicians ever gotten it right?